Hello. My local senior stakeholder liaison from the IRS contacted me and asked if I would do an episode regarding a paycheck checkup, and that is looking at your withholding to make sure that your correct tax is being withheld, and especially based off the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, since there were changes there, we thought it would be a good idea to let people know that they should check on their withholding to make sure everything is being done correctly with their paychecks. So that is what this episode is about.
Welcome to Tax Justice Warriors, the podcast that celebrates the work of low-income taxpayer clinics, focuses on tax controversy work, and looks at related issues in tax news. I am your host, William Schmidt, the director of the Low-Income Taxpayer Clinic at Kansas Legal Services.
To begin with, I'm going to go through a handout regarding the paycheck checkup to know if it is the proper time for a paycheck checkup. Following the tax law changes, a person should do a paycheck checkup using the IRS's withholding calculator and, if necessary, complete a new W-4 form. So the calculator will help you determine the right amount of withholding. So you should do this check if you are in a two-income family, have two or more jobs at the same time, or only work part of the year, claim credits such as the child tax credit, have dependents age 17 or older, have itemized deductions in 2017, have a high income or a complex tax return, or have a large tax refund or a tax bill for 2017. So you can visit the irs.gov/withholding for further details. The tax law changes for 2018 affect withholding, that the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act made major changes to the tax law. So because of this, you should do a paycheck checkup using the withholding calculator on irs.gov. Recent changes affecting withholding include the reduced tax rates, elimination of personal exemptions, increased standard deductions such as $12,000 for singles, $18,000 for a head of household, and $24,000 for married couples filing jointly. There's an increased child tax credit, $2,000 per qualifying child, and a new $500 credit for other qualifying dependents, and changes to itemized deductions. You can find more information on irs.gov/tax reform. If you're wondering how much tax to withhold, that after the recent tax law changes, consider a paycheck checkup using the IRS withholding calculator. This can help prevent an unexpected tax bill in 2019. For people who itemize deductions, it can help with avoiding tax surprises with a paycheck checkup. People who have itemized deductions on past tax returns should do a paycheck checkup using the updated IRS withholding calculator. So that is especially important due to tax law changes from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, such as the cap on deductions for state and local taxes that limits the deduction for home mortgage interest in certain cases, and eliminated deductions for employee business expenses, tax preparation fees, and investment expenses. So you can get more information on irs.gov/tax reform. And also a reminder for seasonal and part-time, part-year workers, actually, that it is time for a paycheck checkup, that if you work a seasonal or part-year job, the checkup can help make sure your employer is withholding the right amount of tax from your paycheck for your situation. The checkup is important after changes from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So you can use the withholding calculator on irs.gov that estimates income, credits, adjustments, and deductions. And if you work part of the year, it is best to check early in your employment period so your withholding is the most accurate. Again, why the checkup? It is to protect against having too little tax withheld and facing an unexpected tax bill or penalty at tax time next year. And you can avoid too much withholding so that you can receive more in your paychecks. Now, this is always a bit of a juggle for people, because if you are not having too much withheld, then you could have a tax penalty and owe the IRS. If you're having too much withheld, then it may be, whether it's too large of a refund that you want more in your paycheck. Some people like having a large refund, so certainly it's to your taste. Now, during the year, there are various ways to pay to the IRS that you can do tax withholding from your pay, your pension, or certain government payments, such as Social Security. You can do estimated tax quarterly payments during the year, or you can do a combination of both. Now, the withholding calculator itself, if you go through, you would need to have your most recent pay stubs and your most recent income tax return available. It will ask about general information, such as your filing status and dependents. It looks at credits, income and withholding, other income and adjustments, itemized deductions, and then we'll provide your results. Then based on that, you can look and see if you have had too much withholding. If that's the case, then you should file a new Form W-4 to avoid having too much withheld and to put more in your regular paycheck. If you do not have enough withheld, then you should also submit a new Form W-4 to your employer. You can make payments through irs.gov/payments, and the IRS payments you can do direct pay from your checking or savings account. There are no fees involved with that. You can use the IRS To Go mobile app on your phone or through the App Store or Google Play. You can do debit or credit card payments or a cash payment through a retail partner. There are processing fees for both a debit or credit card payment or through the retail partner. People who can use online pay agreements, that there are approximately 90% of individuals who request an installment agreement can do so using an online pay agreement. The basic qualifying criteria are that the taxpayer owes $50,000 or less in an assessed balance. All of their required returns are filed, and the proposed monthly payment will fully pay the assessed balance in 72-month monthly payments or before the collection statutory expiration date expires. Now, there are times when to look at changing your withholding, so they suggest checking your withholding often and to adjust it when your situation changes any time of the year. If you experience a life change that reduces your withholding allowances, you must submit a new Form W-4 to your employer within 10 days of the change. And then, especially after the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act made major changes to the tax law, the IRS urges everyone to check their withholding. Now, when should you do another checkup? They suggest to recheck your withholding anytime your circumstances change, but also in early 2019, how the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is affecting you and whether you have too much withholding or not enough to make any adjustments. I hope this helps you out, especially in looking at the next tax season, how your withholding will affect whether you would receive a tax refund or not, and if you have too much withholding. And please tune in next time for more tax talk on Tax Justice Warriors. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Tax Justice Warriors. We have a Patreon page if you'd like to support this podcast. Providing monetary support for this podcast helps with expenses like equipment or travel to tax conferences. Supporting this podcast through Patreon comes with rewards, so check out our Patreon page. Please rate or review this podcast because positive reviews help get more people to know this podcast exists. The views expressed on this podcast are not official opinions of the IRS, the Low Income Taxpayer Clinic program, or the employers of the people who spoke on this program. Your tax situation is unique, so do not take the statements on this program as tax or legal advice. Consult with your own tax professional to provide you with specific advice on your situation. Tune in next time on Tax Justice Warriors for another interesting tax discussion.